So, when did counseling stop being about problem solving? Well, not anymore. Introducing solution-focused counseling with the unlicensed counselor. And now, here's your host, Steve Moak.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of The Unlicensed Counselor. My name is Steve Moak. I am the Unlicensed Counselor. So grateful to be here as always on another sunny, beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona day. Yeah, this is the good time. This is why we live here, right? Pretty fortunate. It's just time to get outside and do stuff, having fun. And if you ever watch on video, and I don't know how many people that do, we actually record this and I post a lot of it on content. I'm rocking the D-back shirt again today because our Diamondbacks, who nobody pays attention to, beat the Milwaukee Brewers last night in our wild card game and off to play our friends over in Los Angeles, the Dodgers. Right, and would make me very happy to see us beat our friends at the Dodgers over there. Sometimes, we get taken to task a little bit over there. But this isn't a baseball podcast, but, it's just fun time of year. We got football going, baseball, basketball. We got the sun. It's all just smiles all around. Smiles, gratitude, smiles. So good stuff. Interesting podcast today. Today I'm actually going to go over an article. And I'll give credit. I don't know this guy. This is an article I came across. I like to read articles like this. And the title of the article is 20 Regrets from People on Their Deathbed That Will Change Your Life. So, I don't think we talk about death enough as a country. I know it's scary. It's almost taboo. It's weird. It's going to happen to all of us. But I thought it was really interesting, and the gentleman's name was Kyle B. Hart, so I want to give him credit because what I want to do today is just kind of go through it and kind of put these out over the airwaves, right, for people to think about and start thinking about this. I'm 44 years old. I'm not preoccupied with death, but it's like, hey, it's all going to hit us at some point in time. So I just think these types of perspectives are unique. They're eye-opening, and maybe they will inspire some of us to take action sooner rather than later, right? What better perspective than someone who's getting ready to pass on to the other side, no matter what you believe and where they go. I just think that's really interesting. So before we do that, obviously I want to thank our friends at ShareTech. Look, if you're in the market for a drug or alcohol screen, Google our friends at ShareTech. They've been with us from the very beginning. You've heard me talk about it. If you need an accurate drug or alcohol screen that actually gives you some privacy as well as the most comprehensive results that are tested by a lab and sent securely to you, then you need to use the ShareTech drug and alcohol screen. Look, it's trusted by the leading treatment centers in the country for their outpatient programs. They would not trust those results to any company. So find ShareTech, order the test. You're going to be happy that you did. You can know that you can trust those results. Obviously, our friends over at EasySheets.club, right? These are our professionally cleaned and pressed sheets sent directly to your door. It's almost 2024. Let's start thinking about sheets differently. I guarantee you're not washing your sheets enough. I guarantee you're not taking them to the dry cleaners to get them pressed. And you know what? You're missing out on a better night's sleep because if you did, like I do, I get those Carry Aloha bamboo sheets sent to me, nice press in them, put them on the bed. It feels like I'm sleeping in a resort in Hawaii or something like that. Can't say enough good things about our friends at EasySheets.club. Look, it starts at $50. Go ahead and sign up. You're going to be grateful that you did. And again, follow our youth drug prevention campaign. Go to thestopstartshere.org. That's our website. That's where our videos are at. But look, the easiest way to stay on top of what we're doing, follow us at Hard Stop Official. We are, I'm not going to say blowing up, but we are picking up a lot of steam and a lot of steam quickly. My co-founder was on some national radio talk shows this week. We are picking up followers by the minute. We'd love to keep you and your family informed with kind of the way in which we're talking about prevention that hopefully can help impact your family and your kids as well too. So again, follow us, find us, Hard Stop Official, go to thestopstartshere.org. All right. So enough of that. So like I said, this article, I don't usually just take articles. I think I've only done one other episode where I've kind of taken an article and gone through it, but this one struck me a little bit, right? First things first, and just going to be blunt about it. And he says it right here in the article, you're going to die someday. right? All of us, every single ear person in this room and all of it. It's not fun to talk about, but those are attention-getting words, I would think, right? And I hope that as you're going through this, you're going to be able to kind of think about that a little bit more. Maybe that'll be the only thing that you take away from this entire episode. But as the author goes on to state, when you get to that point, right, if we're in hospice or at home and our loved ones are around us, are you going to be filled with kind of triumph or regret, as he puts it, right? So are we going to kind of sit there and go, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. I could have done this. I should have said this. I could have been nicer here. Or do we want to be able to lay down there knowing that we lived life the way we wanted to do, we lived it to the fullest, and we'll be able to close our eyes and know that we did what we came to do and we were happy with the life that we lived, right? And hopefully the others will remember us that way as well too. So this article, and again, I'm giving full credit to the gentleman who wrote this article. These are not my ideas, but I just thought it was valuable enough to kind of bring it up and kind of, I'll, as I usually do, share a little bit about my thoughts and opinions on this matter. But I'm just going to blow down the list here, right? So, and look, if you get on social media and we want to talk about it a little bit more, throw some other ideas out there. Maybe you've had conversations where you've been there with loved ones and they share different things or different perspectives. I'd love to hear those too. These are just, 20 that were compiled. And number one is, I wish I wouldn't have compared myself to others, right? How hard is that to do? It really is. And, I see these videos sometimes on social media and things where it's like, there'll be a train station and there'll just be a security camera and it's a guy just dancing down the thing, right? And it looks so free and happy. And I think about it and I'm like, could I do something like that? And I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no. But what it reminded me of is they don't care, right? They don't care what other people are looking at. He's not comparing himself to anybody else. Everyone has their own struggles, but really trying to not put yourself against others. And I've struggled with that in my own life. We live out here in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's a fairly affluent place, and this family has this, and they go on vacations here, and their kids have this, and they're going to school there. And it's very, very easy, and it almost feels natural to kind of get caught up in that. And I came from, a family who has done very well and has many of those things. So and now as an adult, I do fine, but I don't have that level of those types of things. So, I have a unique perspective and I'm grateful for the things that I've been exposed to, but I'm trying not to compare myself to what the others have. You don't know, truthfully, what's going on. You don't know what's in that person's bank account. You don't know what's going on in that marriage. Yes, you see the picture in the Instagram from the catamaran down in the BVI's and it looks beautiful and everybody's smiling and tan and happy, but you have no idea, if there's health things going on or financial things or relationship things. So it's just a good idea to just see if you can kind of check yourself and stop the comparison to others, which I think is much easier said than done. The number 2 point is, I wish I'd taken action and dove in head first. This one hits me significantly, and I take this one in a little bit more from the professional front, from a career standpoint. I have really enjoyed kind of the second half of my career as becoming an entrepreneur and business owner, and not all of the things that I have started have excelled. Some of them are not doing that great. Some of them are doing much better than others. But I'd wish I'd taken a little bit action earlier. Right? As this author says, there's no right way to kind of get into this, but you just often get paralyzed by the should I, shouldn't I, what are the risks, what could happen, what will people think, blah, 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 blah. But there's really no right time to do it. And for me, again, as I'm looking at it through a career lens, it's like, why didn't I do this stuff earlier? Why did I let others, and I think this was a big part of it for me, why did I let others kind of dictate what I should, how I should be doing things instead of really taking action myself? Now, granted, let's put a little asterisk next to the old Steve Areno story here. I had a significant drug or alcohol problem going on at the time, which certainly hindered a lot of my ability to think clearly and probably take action sooner. And I also believe that everything happens for a reason. But, really, I wish I'd started things earlier, especially when it comes to that. And I still have some things that I'm looking to do. Again, I've brought up on the show stand-up comedy, that I still want to get out there and be able to do an open mic and do things like that. Not that I'm going to be, some huge stand-up comic, but it's the challenge of doing it. It's taking the time to go in and do that as well, too. So those are just things that are important to me that, again, I wish I'd taken a little more action and just dove in head first, right? Number 3, I'd wish I'd tuned the world out more, right? Everyone tries to dictate and tell you who you are and what you should be, right? Just what I was saying on point number 2. And I wish I could have tuned it out a little bit more. And now, as you get a little bit older, and maybe this is one of those things that as you just get a little bit older, you're kind of a little more in tune with, but I'm less worried about trying to please everyone in my life. And in fact, I've set boundaries with many people in my life that they're not always very happy with. But, my happiness, my sanity, the joy in my life, and the peace in my life, that's required. And I'd wish I'd tuned some of that stuff out. That doesn't mean completely shutting people out, although that may be the case. And if that's what's required. But, being the people pleaser, right? If you're able to turn that down a little bit and not have to kind of seek that validation, I think it would be a worthwhile exercise for us to do this. Again, remember, the title of this entire thing is 20 Regrets from People on Their Deathbed. So these are people at the very end who are looking back on everything going, okay, here's some information that I'd like to pass on to others, right? The next one is, I wish I didn't wait to start it tomorrow. Excuses. Right? We're all familiar with excuses, right? Procrastination, putting it off. I've got 85% of a book done. That's been done for about 12 to 18 months right now. So again, I'm not out here saying I've got this all dialed in. I have to do these things too. And these, as I read this article, it's part of what resonated so much with me. I was like, get it going. You don't know how much time you have left here, right? You just don't. I could be driving home and this could be the last podcast episode you ever hear this voice coming from, right? But there's always a reason not to do it. Don't let that be the case, right? Don't let that be the case. Think about how you can take action and move yourself forward, and don't get in the wait to start to do it tomorrow, or I'll get to it in the later. I know that's hard. I struggle with it myself. And what I've done is I'm much better at making lists. And then even if I have to make a sub little items off of those things, I'm like, how do I get this done? Or maybe what are the first things I can get done? I like to kind of start with some of the easiest ones just to build a little momentum on my list. It's like, all right, I got that done. I got that done. I got that done. And now I've got these other things. Let's just keep picking them off, right? Number 5, I'd wish I'd taken more chances, right? The fear of rejection and failure dissipates in the face of death. Whew. That's a statement, right? I mean, if that doesn't just hit you right square in between the eyes, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the girl that you want to ask out, right? I've felt what that feels like before. I've had startups that, haven't done as well as I'd hoped for. It's like, well, do you want to do it again? Or, do you have to go tuck your tail between your legs, or do you get back up and you go do something again, right? And kind of be able to tune out some of those things. Whatever it is, being able to say that you'd taken some chances, right? Maybe it's moving to that city that you're thinking about you'd like to move to, right? Maybe it's going after or applying for that job that you don't think you really have a chance for. Whatever it is, take those chances and start to believe in yourself and stop worrying about that fear of failure. But let me just say that again. The fear of rejection or failure dissipates in the face of death. Wow. I mean, that's significant if you ask me, right? Number 6, I wish I would have kept going, right? Failure happens. Don't let that failure turn into a significant regret, right? Don't quit if you don't have to, right? Don't let the pressure of falling short overcome the love for your endeavor. Just keep going. I have mixed feelings on this one. I agree with it. I 100% agree with it, but I also do think that there's a time when you got to be able to recognize that, all right, I gave this everything I got, and I'm coming short. It's not working. It's financially not working for me. It's hurting my relationships, my friendships, my family, whatever it is. Maybe it's time to think about other things. But I am a determined individual, and I am gritty, and those are characteristics that I have. But I also think has to be a balance on the other side of this, that just don't kill yourself on something that is just not working for you. But I do believe in the grittiness of this statement of just keep going and keep going and keep going. That's why we're on episode, 32 or something like that here today, right? For those that are keeping track at home, just keep going. They're going to be better. I'm sure my number 32 is hopefully a little bit better than number 1, although I think my first episode was pretty good. But that's neither here nor there. Next up on the list, I wish I told others how much I love them. Oof, tough, right? I don't know if it's a generational thing that's kind of shifted from my parents, and I don't know if they heard it a lot from their parents, and then my parents communicating it to me and kind of my generation. But I feel like my generation and now younger seems to be much better at being able to say I love you and communicate that out. That's a generalized blanket statement. I know there's plenty of exceptions, but it's just something that I've noticed. And it's something that wasn't very prominent in my family, and I don't hold anybody responsible for that. It just wasn't. Like, you know it, I know it, we know it, right? Like, we're all good. I feel like that you used to say that on The Simpsons, like, all the time back in the days. Like, you know it, I know it, we know it, we're all good. Like, let's just kind of leave it at that. And I just think it's important to now verbalize that as well, too. And I wasn't even great in my last marriage in saying that because I was so unfamiliar with just the saying of those words. I mean, have you said it when you get married to the girl? Yes, but it felt oftentimes forced and contrived. And now having a daughter, I don't know if it's opened up something within me or whatever it is. And it also took practice of repetition and saying that I say it every single day to my daughter. And by the way, she says it back to me all the time. She'll say it even more to me than I probably say it to her. She'll just come up running, Daddy, I love you, give me a hug. And, it melts your heart. And it's just like, wow. But I thought that was really important, and one that kind of hit me as well, too. Number 8, I wish I was more content with what I have, right? What you have is probably good enough. I mean, when we look around at what the world is, I mean, everybody's got a $1,000 cell phone, a 50-inch flat screen. We've got cars that work, that don't stop and break like they used to. We've got air conditioning. We've got apartments. We've got homes. We've got food. We've got stores. The abundance of good things that are around in our life is amazing. And how long we live as a society and as a culture and things like that, and just the music and the TV, and we get to be alive during this times and being content with what we have and not looking always through whatever lens or social media and going, but if I only had that, right? And what was it? I've heard this, a couple times in growing up in kind of an affluent area and family and things like that, where it's like, money doesn't really change who you are. It just exacerbates who you already were, right? And I've seen that, from people who maybe didn't have some that now have some, and it just kind of takes who you are and kind of amplifies it a little bit. So I think there's something to just being happy with what you have. How much square footage in a home do you need, right? How many cars, toys, watches, trips, things like that? I mean, are they nice? Sure. We'd all like to have a little bit more, but also understanding that what you have now, health, family, friends, a job, the city that you live in, extended family, all that kind of stuff. Like, that's the stuff that really is much more important. Number 9, I wish I took better care of my body. As somebody, again, person in long-term recovery, I didn't take very good care of my body. And I've always been an athlete. Even when I was in, active addiction and alcoholism and things like that, I was still running, but I wasn't lifting, I was smoking, I wasn't taking care of my body. And now I see a lot of older folks at my gym. I'm talking like 70 plus, and I'm like in good shape and like looking good, strong. And then I see some other folks that I'm just like, oh man, like they sit down and can't play with my 3-year-old daughter because they can't even get onto the ground and, not being able to get up, right? So, taking care of your body, taking care of your teeth, taking care of your weight, getting to that doctor's appointment, right? Addressing any ongoing health things, doing the screens that can hopefully prevent some of the things that are out there, staying on the medication. I also include mental health in this as well too, right? Making sure that you're going to your therapist or addressing whatever anxiety, depression, stress, those types of things are going on. But, when you're 70, 80, 90 years old, it's a lot harder to get started then versus if you were kind of doing this now and continued on to that in some way, shape, or form. And resistance training, aka weightlifting, I think continues to be one of the major drivers that are seeing people stay healthier longer. Is that if you have some level, they call it resistance training, I just call it weightlifting, right? And again, I'm not asking you, a 75, 80-year-old to sit in there and do reps on the bench press, but you can get in there, machines, take a couple little cardio classes, just keeping things going and taking care of your diet. And I think, again, this is from folks on their deathbed, right? This isn't the unlicensed counselor's words today. These are other people who have kind of shared and this article was written about. Number 10, I wish I'd listened to others more, right? I think it's important to have good mentors. I think, whether that's clergy, friends, business, social groups, things like that, and be able to listen to those people. I also think it's important to listen to people on differing points of view. In this highly politicized world that we live in today, is to be able to actively listen, and you can still disagree with their views that person holds, but be able to listen and discuss those, and you have your points and they have theirs, but be able to listen to others as they're kind of sharing, right? I just think that's an underrated skill, and I thought that was a great one to kind of make this list as well too. Number 11, I wish I had not held that grudge, right? Think about it. Everybody who's listening to this right now, I guarantee everybody's got a grudge. That's something they're holding some way, maybe some stronger than others, right? And who's that really hurting? It's probably hurting you more than that person who may or may not even know that you're holding that grudge. But, holding that in long term, I understand that maybe some time needs to pass and then maybe you can revisit that. But in time, I think it would be much more healthy if you're able to address that. But, I understand that some of these things are deep-seated and rooted in probably serious things that have gone on for generations and maybe family-type trauma stuff. But, hopefully in time. But if you can get there and when appropriate, I think it would be great. And I think, smart that it made this list as well, too. Number 12 is a little bit more fun. I wish I'd traveled more, right? Go to that foreign country. And I do think it's important to go to foreign countries. I've done a lot of traveling myself too, but I think it makes you appreciate what you have a little bit more as this country. And we've gotten, call it what you want. This country seems to be, riddled with just pockets of people who don't really enjoy this country or don't like the flag or whatever. And that's podcast for another time. But I do think when you go away somewhere and you get down to South America, you get over to Europe, or you get over to China, and then you're able to appreciate maybe some more of the things that we have here, But don't be afraid to get out. You're going to learn something. You're going to try some new food. You're going to meet some new people. You're going to have some experiences. You're going to have some adventure. Yes, maybe it costs a couple bucks more, and maybe it doesn't 100% fit the budget, but I would still encourage you, it's better to kind of have that experience and that lived experience by going out and doing this, right? Number 13, I wish I'd laughed it off. So, taking yourself too seriously. I used to take myself all too seriously, right? And I think, especially in my last marriage, and I had 2 stepkids, and we had another kid and the job, and it was like I just felt like I was carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders at all time, and it was like, take a breath, relax. Is it going to matter in a week, a month, a year, right? Are we going to be able to just laugh this off and not snap, right? And now, kind of maybe your kids see that and react to it. No, just be able to laugh it off, right? Let's not take ourselves all that seriously, right? Number 14, I'd wish I'd left work at work, right? Work at work. 40 hours, whatever your work week is. What's the one quote I see all the time on social media that goes around? It's the only people that are going to remember your work late are your kids, right? Nobody else cares, nobody else cares. And that kind of makes me sad. And it's something that I try and draw as I'm kind of redefining what the second half of my career looks like. And, one of the things for me is flexibility in work. Like I love to work hard. I love to bust it, but I love to be able to have some flexibility to get to that game, right? To go to Daddy. We just had Daddy Day at her school, and I can go there and she can put shaving cream all over my face. And it's just a blast, man. I couldn't imagine not going to a soccer game or, just whatever it is. Being able to leave work at work and not bring that home and have the time, be at home with the family. I'm going to take this one just a step further too. And I don't have a lot of homework in my world yet with a preschooler, but I'm going to say leave schoolwork at work too, because look, you got them for 8 hours a day, right? And now you want to take my 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever it is, and to go do homework? Nah, you get that done during the day. Sorry, I get my time with my kids. That's not on the list. That's an unlicensed counselor, bonus edition on this list. Number 15, I wish I'd stayed in touch with friends, right? It's so easy as you get older to you got your family, you got what you do, you got your routine, you got your work, you got the things you got to get done. And I've got my buddies, and I am super guilty of this, and they'll invite me out to golf all the time. It's like, especially with the startup life and how I was doing there, I just never had the time, made the time, all that kind of thing. We're still friends, but obviously those things drift. How many times are you going to invite somebody and they say no before you just stop getting the calls, right? You stop getting the calls. So making an effort to stay in touch with those friends, I think is important and something that I want to continue to do, and actually hit me as I read this article. If you guys are listening out there, call me. We'll go play golf with you, right? Number 16, I wish I was more aware of the real world around me, right? To me, I read this and go, getting outside of my phone, being able to get out in nature, not being on my laptop, not being on social media, having the time with my kids be time with the kids, not one thing on the phone and not in the car driving to the next thing. Just nature, the sunrise, the sunset, the beach, those quality conversations, sitting around the campfire, playing with the dog. Like that's the stuff that's you're going to look back and remember and be satisfied with, not the like or the comment or the share or the followers and all of that kind of stuff, right? So being much more aware of those things that are around me. Number 17, I wish I had more confidence in myself. That's a really interesting one as it hits me. I looked at myself as a very kind of confident person, but then there's other areas where it's like you feel not confident, right? So why can you have some confidence over in this area to get in front of a microphone and host a weekly podcast and talk about it, and then other areas you're like too scared to get on a microphone and tell jokes in front of somebody, right? So how do you get to that confidence? It's not the cocky thing, right? Like we want to make sure that it's not that, but just find ways to kind of believe in yourself a little bit more when you're going out, and you'll just find, I think you'll be a little bit happier as you're able to kind of do this as well too. Number 18, I wish I trusted my intuition. That's a great one, right? I think we know, like there's just so many times, whether it's I'm talking to somebody, maybe it's somebody I met online to go out on a date for, and it's just like something doesn't feel right or not clicking, or, should I go to this party or event, or if it doesn't, like we have that thing. I don't know what that thing is, right? And especially, I don't know, on the parent side of thing, I feel like I get a little more of this intuition that kicks in from time to time as well. That little voice in the back of your head, just trying to listen to it a little bit more. See if you can tune into that a little bit more. And I think actually, I wouldn't be here without my yoga talk. I think it's helped me as well too. All right, let me pull up one more thing here. Because it wouldn't be the podcast without me mentioning the yoga in some way, shape, or form. But we got 2 left before I close out. Number 19, I wish I ran with a better crowd, right? Wish I ran with a better crowd. You know, the people you surround yourself, I've said before, you hang out with 5 distance runners, you're going to be the 6th. You hang out with 5 smokers, you're going to be the 6th. You run around with idiots, as this article likes to talk about, then, you know, what's that say about who you're keeping your time with? I do think it's important to kind of take a little inventory of who you're spending your time with, right? And I think it's a valuable thing to kind of see if you can surround yourself with maybe some people that are going to challenge you, push you, grow, kind of get you out of your comfort zone a little bit more, right? And last but not least, number 20, I wish I'd walk the walk. You know, to me, that's just saying, get to doing what you say you're going to do, right? And as he puts it, there's far too many people that are good at vocalizing the life they want, but are horrendous at putting a plan into action to get there. It's not enough to dream out loud or quietly in your head. You must absolutely need to put yourself out there and leap into action, right? I think that's just a great way to kind of put an end to this is just saying, look, get out there and do it. You know, you may fail, you may not, but at least as you're sitting on your deathbed, which is where all 20 of these came from, again, 20 regrets from people on their deathbed, right? I just thought this article hit me. It made me think about a lot of things in my life, it made me think about death, because again, we're all going to die. What do I want to be telling my family, my friends, my loved one as they're sitting around there going, I wish I would have done this, or I can say, I did it. Like, I did it, right? Wasn't perfect. I tried it, failed a lot, but I went out there and put myself out there. So, you know, I hope you got a little bit something out of this. Again, I don't usually just grab an article on here and kind of regurgitate it on the podcast, but I thought this one was worthwhile. So if you got any questions, comments, or thought, again, the author was Kyle B. Hart. If you want to search it and read up on your own, he actually goes into much greater detail than kind of the highlights and summaries that we talked about today. But I thought it was valuable enough to kind of put this out to your ears in the world. So that's all we got today. Again, my name is Steve Moak. I am the Unlicensed Counselor. Until next time, thank you very much.